In the late 1960s and early 1970s, Northern California was gripped by fear thanks to a shadowy figure who called himself the Zodiac. This unidentified American serial killer is believed to have claimed the lives of at least 5 individuals, though he boasted of killing as many as 37. His reign of terror began in the summer of '68, casting a long shadow that has lingered over the Bay Area and beyond for decades. The Zodiac was not just a murderer, he was a taunter, a cryptographer, and a master manipulator of the media. He sent a series of chilling letters to local newspapers, some containing ciphers that he dared the public to solve, claiming they would reveal his identity. His cryptic messages, marked with a crosshair-like symbol, became the haunting hallmark of a case that has baffled law enforcement and amateur sleuths alike. The mystery of the Zodiac Killer has seeped into popular culture, inspiring movies like the 1971 action film Dirty Harry and the critically acclaimed 2007 film Zodiac by David Fincher. Yet, despite the fame and the fear, the Zodiac has remained elusive, with his true identity shrouded in mystery. As we delve into this dark chapter of true crime, remember that this is not just a story of a killer, but also of the lives tragically cut short and the families left behind. It's a tale that challenges us to look deeper into the abyss of the human psyche and the society that breeds such monsters. And now, I turn to you, my viewers. As we embark on this journey together, I invite you to join the conversation. Share your thoughts, your theories, and your insights. Have you come across any details that could shed light on this case? Do you have a hunch about the Zodiac's identity? Let's unravel this mystery together. Hit the like button if you're ready to dive in, subscribe for more true crime stories, and don't forget to ring that bell for notifications on the latest updates. Together, we might just find the piece of the puzzle that has been missing all these years. The true horror of the Zodiac Killer's crimes lies in the stories of the victims and the brutal circumstances of their encounters with this predator. Each victim was a person with a life cut tragically short, leaving behind families and communities that would never be the same. David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen. The Zodiac's grim tally began on December 20, 1968, with high school students David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen. They were on their first date, parked on a lover's lane in Benicia. The night ended in tragedy when the Zodiac shot and killed them both. Michael Majow and Darlene Ferrin. On July 4, 1969, another young couple was targeted. Michael Majow and Darlene Ferrin were sitting in a parked car in Vallejo when they were shot. Darlene succumbed to her injuries, but Michael survived, despite being shot multiple times. Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard. The Zodiac struck again on September 27, 1969, at Lake Berryessa. He approached college students Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard with a gun as they relaxed by the lake. The killer tied them up and then stabbed them repeatedly. Brian survived the attack, but Cecilia later died of her injuries. Paul Stein. On October 11, 1969, the Zodiac claimed his last confirmed victim, Paul Stein, a cab driver in San Francisco. The Zodiac shot Stein in the head at point-blank range, then took a piece of his bloodstained shirt, which he would later send to the press as proof of his deed. These are not just names. They were individuals with hopes, dreams, and loved ones. Their encounters with the Zodiac were marked by sudden violence and incomprehensible cruelty. The randomness and brutality of these attacks left a community in fear and a nation in shock, and they remain at the heart of why this case continues to haunt us to this day. The Zodiac Killer's victims remind us of the fragility of life and the presence of evil that can lurk in the shadows. Their stories are a somber testament to the lives they lived and the impact they left behind. The Zodiac Killer's correspondence with the media and police is one of the most baffling and disturbing aspects of the case. Between 1966 and 1974, the Zodiac sent more than 20 communications, including letters and ciphers that taunted authorities and terrorized the public. These letters were not just a means of communication. They were part of the Zodiac's game. He used them to claim responsibility for the murders, to challenge the police, and to instill fear in the heart of every person who read them. The letters were often signed with the Zodiac's symbol, a circle with a cross running through it, which became an infamous icon of the case. The ciphers included in some of these letters were a mix of symbols, letters, and numbers that the Zodiac claimed would reveal his identity if solved. The most famous of these is the 408 symbol cipher, which was cracked by a high school teacher and his wife. The decoded message was a chilling manifesto of the killer's twisted enjoyment of murder, which he described as more fun than killing wild game in the forest. However, not all of the Zodiac's ciphers have been solved. The 340-character cipher, known as Z340, baffled cryptographers and codebreakers for over 50 years until it was finally cracked in December 2020 by an international team of private citizens. The message did not reveal the identity of the killer, as many had hoped, but it did offer a disturbing insight into his mind, with the killer stating, "I hope you are having lots of fun and trying to catch me." The letters and ciphers are a testament to the Zodiac's desire for attention and control. He manipulated the media to ensure his crimes and his identity remained at the forefront of public consciousness. The cryptic nature of his messages has led to endless speculation and analysis, making the Zodiac one of the most enigmatic figures in the annals of true crime. The Zodiac's letters are not just historical artifacts. They are pieces of a puzzle that has yet to be fully solved. They continue to intrigue and challenge both professional and amateur sleuths to this day, keeping the Zodiac's dark legacy alive in the public imagination. The Zodiac Killer's symbol, a simple yet ominous crosshair-like sign, has become one of the most recognizable symbols associated with true crime. This signature emblem, a circle intersected by a cross, appeared on most of the Zodiac's correspondence and was claimed by the killer as his own mark. But what does this symbol actually signify? The true meaning behind the Zodiac's symbol remains as enigmatic as the killer himself. There has been much speculation about its origins and implications. Some suggest it could be a taunting representation of a gun's sight, aligning with the killer's method of targeting his victims. Others believe it may have deeper, more personal significance to the Zodiac, possibly relating to his identity or his worldview. Some theorists have linked the symbol to astrological or celestial references, considering the killer's choice of the name Zodiac. It could represent the alignment of the stars or a connection to the astrological zodiac signs, which might hint at the timing of the murders or the killer's birth sign. Another angle is that the symbol could be a twisted form of a Celtic cross or some other historical emblem, repurposed to serve the killer's narcissistic display. It's also been suggested that the symbol could be a composite of other letters or numbers meaningful to the zodiac, perhaps even a clue to his identity. Despite the various theories, the Zodiac's symbol remains a chilling reminder of the killer's need for recognition and his ability to instill fear. It's a graphic representation of the mystery that surrounds the case, a visual cipher that, like the killer's identity, has yet to be fully decoded. The symbol's enduring legacy is a testament to the Zodiac's twisted ingenuity. It's a brand that has left an indelible mark on the collective consciousness, a graphic signature that continues to provoke both fear and fascination. Over the years, the Zodiac case has seen a carousel of suspects, each with varying degrees of evidence against them. Here's an overview of the main suspects and my take on the likelihood of each being the infamous Zodiac killer. Arthur Lee Allen, perhaps the most well-known suspect. Allen was the prime suspect for many years. He owned the same caliber gun used in one of the murders and wore a Zodiac brand watch. He was also identified by survivor Michael Majow. However, Allen was cleared by fingerprints and DNA evidence. My take: while he was a compelling suspect, the forensic evidence suggests he was not the Zodiac. Rick Marshall. Marshall lived in the Bay Area during the killings and was known for his interest in cryptography. He also owned a typewriter similar to the one used to type the Zodiac letters. However, there was never enough evidence to make a definitive connection. My take: the circumstantial evidence is intriguing, but without more concrete links, it's unlikely he was the Zodiac. Lawrence Kane. Kane was linked to the Zodiac case through a possible connection to victim Darlene Ferrin and was identified by a police officer as being near the crime scene of another attack. He also had a history of brain injuries that could explain some of the Zodiac's behavior. My take: Kane is a plausible suspect, but again, the evidence is not conclusive. Ross Sullivan. Sullivan became a suspect due to his presence in the library where victim Cherie Jo Bates was last seen alive. He also matched the physical description of the Zodiac and had been hospitalized for bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. My take: Sullivan's connection to Bates is compelling, but without a direct link to the Zodiac killings, it's a stretch to name him as the killer. Gary Francis Post. A more recent suspect identified by a team of specialists. Post's name surfaced with claims that scars on his forehead match scars in a sketch of the Zodiac. However, there has been significant skepticism about this claim, and law enforcement has not confirmed Post's involvement. My take: the evidence against Post seems speculative at best, and without law enforcement backing, it's hard to consider him a credible suspect. The truth is, despite the many suspects and the extensive investigations, there is no definitive answer as to who the Zodiac killer is. Each suspect has elements that make them seem viable, but the lack of irrefutable evidence means that, in my opinion, the true identity of the Zodiac remains a mystery. The Zodiac killer's ciphers have been a source of both fascination and frustration for decades. These cryptic messages have challenged both amateur and professional codebreakers, leading to breakthroughs that have provided chilling insights into the killer's mind. One of the most notorious ciphers, known as the 408-character cipher, was sent in 3 parts to newspapers and was cracked by a high school teacher and his wife. The decoded message was a macabre statement that read, in part, "I like killing because it is so much fun." It was a grim window into the killer's psyche, but it did not reveal his identity as he had claimed it would. Another cipher, referred to as Z340 due to its 340 characters, remained unsolved for over 50 years until it was cracked in December 2020 by an international team of private citizens. The solution to this cipher did not disclose the Zodiac's identity either. Instead, it contained a taunt directed at the police, stating, "I hope you are having lots of fun and trying to catch me." There was also a 32-character cipher, known as Z32, which purportedly claimed to reveal the location of a bomb the killer had set, accompanied by a map showing the cities of Berkeley and Oakland in California. The cipher's full solution has not been publicly verified, and the supposed bomb was never found. Despite these breakthroughs, there are ciphers attributed to the Zodiac that remain unsolved, continuing to elude the best efforts of cryptanalysts. The Z13 cipher, for example, is a 13-character message that the Zodiac claimed would reveal his name. To this day, its meaning is still a mystery. The process of decoding these ciphers has been painstaking and, at times, controversial, with various individuals claiming to have solved them only for their solutions to be disputed by others. The true test of any proposed solution is whether it can be universally accepted and verified, a hurdle that many alleged solutions have failed to clear. The decoded messages have added to the lore of the Zodiac Killer, providing a disturbing look at a murderer who took pleasure in the act of killing and in the notoriety it brought him. Yet, the ciphers that remain unsolved continue to hold secrets that might one day lead to the Zodiac's true identity. The Zodiac case didn't just capture the public's attention, it seized it, held it captive, and has refused to let go for decades. The role of media in the Zodiac case is a story of intrigue, fear, and the dark allure of the unknown. From the outset, the Zodiac Killer understood the power of the media and used it to amplify his terror. He sent letters to newspapers, some containing ciphers, demanding they be published or he would kill again. The media, caught between ethical dilemmas and public safety concerns, complied. This created a symbiotic relationship where the Zodiac fed the media's need for sensational stories, and the media fed the Zodiac's craving for attention and control. The public was both horrified and fascinated. The Zodiac's ciphers and taunting letters made for compelling content that sold newspapers and boosted television ratings. The case became a fixture in the media, with each new communication from the Zodiac sparking a fresh wave of coverage and public interest. This media frenzy turned the Zodiac into a celebrity monster, a figure of public notoriety that loomed large in the American psyche. The constant exposure contributed to a climate of fear and fascination that spread far beyond the boundaries of Northern California. The media's role in the Zodiac case also had a significant impact on the investigation. The intense public scrutiny and the pressure to solve the case were amplified by the media's spotlight. Every development, or lack thereof, was news, and the police were under constant observation. The Zodiac case was one of the first to show how a serial killer could manipulate the media to become infamous. It set a precedent for how such cases would be covered in the future and raised questions about the media's responsibility in reporting on crimes that are still debated today. The investigation into the Zodiac Killer was a monumental task for law enforcement, marked by both innovative techniques for the time and significant challenges. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, when the Zodiac was active, forensic science was not as advanced as it is today. The police relied heavily on traditional methods such as canvassing neighborhoods, interviewing witnesses, and collecting physical evidence from crime scenes. They also made extensive use of composite sketches based on descriptions provided by witnesses, hoping to trigger recognition from the public. One of the most significant challenges was the lack of technology that we take for granted today, such as DNA profiling, which did not exist at the time. This meant that physical evidence had to be evaluated in a much more rudimentary manner. The police also struggled with the Zodiac's ciphers, which required specialized knowledge to attempt to decode, a task that was outside the typical skill set of law enforcement. Another major hurdle was the sheer scope of the investigation. The Zodiac claimed to have killed as many as 37 victims, although only 5 were confirmed. The crimes were spread out both geographically and over time, which complicated the task of connecting the dots. The killer's habit of communicating with the media and police added an additional layer of complexity to the investigation. Interagency communication was another issue. The murders took place in different jurisdictions, which sometimes led to conflicts and a lack of cooperation between various law enforcement agencies. This was exacerbated by the competitive nature of the high-profile case, with different departments eager to solve it independently. Despite these challenges, law enforcement made several breakthroughs, such as the partial decoding of the Zodiac's ciphers and the identification of suspects based on circumstantial evidence. However, the lack of definitive proof meant that the Zodiac was never caught, and the case remains open to this day. The Zodiac case has become a textbook example of the limitations of law enforcement techniques of the time and the difficulties faced in a pre-digital age. It's a stark reminder of how far forensic science has come and how some cases can remain unsolved despite the best efforts of dedicated investigators. In the ongoing quest to solve the Zodiac Killer case, modern forensic analysis, particularly DNA technology, has become a beacon of hope. The advancements in forensic science have revolutionized criminal investigations, allowing detectives to revisit cold cases with new tools at their disposal. DNA technology, which was not available during the Zodiac's active years, has the potential to provide the breakthrough needed to finally unmask the killer. Investigators have attempted to extract DNA from the envelopes and stamps of the letters sent by the Zodiac, hoping to find a match with a known individual or to generate a genetic profile that could be run through criminal databases. However, the application of DNA technology in the Zodiac case has faced significant hurdles. The age and handling of the evidence over the years have potentially degraded the DNA, making it difficult to obtain a complete profile. Moreover, the very methods used to preserve the evidence in the past may now impede modern analysis. Contamination is also a concern, as multiple individuals have handled the letters and other evidence over the decades. Despite these challenges, there is still hope that DNA technology could yield results. In recent years, genetic genealogy has emerged as a powerful tool, leading to the identification and arrest of the Golden State Killer. This method involves creating a genetic profile from the DNA evidence and comparing it to the vast array of genetic information available in public databases to find familial matches. The use of modern forensic analysis in the Zodiac case is a testament to the determination to find answers, no matter how much time has passed. While the killer's identity remains a mystery, the advancements in forensic science offer a promise that one day, the Zodiac Killer might finally be unmasked. The Zodiac Killer case, which has baffled law enforcement and the public for over half a century, experienced a notable development in late 2021. A team of independent investigators, known as the Case Breakers, claimed they had identified a new suspect who they believe was the Zodiac Killer. This group, consisting of former law enforcement officers, journalists, and military intelligence officers, asserted that they had found forensic evidence and photos from the suspect's darkroom that linked him to the Zodiac crimes. The suspect identified by the Case Breakers was Gary Francis Post, who passed away in 2018. They argued that scars on Post's forehead matched scars in a sketch of the Zodiac, and that his name was concealed in one of the ciphers. However, this claim has been met with skepticism from both the public and law enforcement, with the FBI stating that the case remains open and that there is no new information from the FBI's perspective. The Case Breakers also suggested that Post could be linked to another murder in Southern California, which was not originally attributed to the Zodiac. They believe that deciphering the anagrams in the Zodiac's letters could reveal Post's full name, providing a direct link to the crimes. Despite these claims, the Zodiac case remains officially unsolved. Law enforcement agencies have not endorsed the findings of the Case Breakers, and the evidence has not been subjected to peer review or legal scrutiny. The latest developments have reignited interest in the case, but they have also underscored the difficulties of conclusively solving a case that is decades old, with evidence that is limited and degraded. The Guardian reported on these developments, highlighting the enduring fascination with the Zodiac case and the continuous efforts to solve it. The full article can be accessed for more detailed information on these recent claims. The Case Breakers, an independent group of cold case investigators, have made bold claims regarding the identity of the Zodiac Killer. This team, composed of various experts including former law enforcement officers, journalists, and military intelligence officers, has dedicated itself to solving some of the most enduring mysteries, including the Zodiac case. Their approach to the Zodiac Killer's identity was rooted in a combination of forensic evidence, photographic analysis, and cipher decoding. They focused on Gary Francis Post, a deceased man, as their prime suspect. The Case Breakers pointed to physical evidence such as matching scars on Post's forehead to those in the composite sketch of the Zodiac. They also claimed that Post's name could be extracted from one of the Zodiac's ciphers when applying a specific decoding method. Furthermore, the group has been given a specific location in the High Sierra to search for several guns that are allegedly connected to the Zodiac Killer. These firearms are believed to be linked to a series of murders between 1962 and 1970, which the Zodiac is suspected of committing. The Case Breakers' efforts represent a significant undertaking in the realm of independent investigative work. They have sought to bring new techniques and fresh eyes to a case that has long stumped professional law enforcement. However, their findings have been met with skepticism, and official law enforcement agencies have not confirmed their claims. The full extent of the Case Breakers' claims and their ongoing investigations can be explored on their website, which provides detailed information on their work and the evidence they have gathered. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has maintained a cautious and measured stance regarding the Zodiac Killer case, particularly in response to claims made by independent groups such as the Case Breakers. Despite the bold assertion by the Case Breakers that they have identified the Zodiac Killer as Gary Francis Post, who died in 2018, the FBI has dismissed these claims. The FBI's dismissal underscores the agency's commitment to evidence that can withstand the rigors of legal scrutiny. While the Case Breakers team, which includes more than 40 private investigators, forensic experts, and former FBI agents and detectives, has presented what they believe to be compelling evidence, the FBI has not altered its position that the case remains unsolved. The agency's response to these recent claims is consistent with its approach to the Zodiac case over the years: careful, methodical, and based on verifiable evidence. The FBI has a high threshold for considering a case solved, and thus far, the information provided by the Case Breakers has not met this standard. The full details of the FBI's response to the Case Breakers' claims can be found in an article from Oxygen, which provides insight into the agency's current position on the case. The Zodiac killer's cultural impact is profound and enduring, reaching far beyond the realm of true crime and into the broader tapestry of media and popular culture. The case has become a part of the American consciousness, a symbol of fear, fascination, and the unsolvable mystery. The Zodiac Killer has been the subject of numerous books, documentaries, and films, most notably the 2007 movie Zodiac, which portrayed the intense investigation and the killer's taunting games with the media and police. The film, directed by David Fincher, is just one example of how the Zodiac story has been woven into the fabric of entertainment, reflecting our collective intrigue with the macabre. Beyond film, the Zodiac has also influenced television, with various crime shows featuring episodes inspired by the case. The cryptic messages and ciphers associated with the Zodiac have become a part of the public lexicon, often referenced in discussions about unsolved crimes and serial killers. In the digital age, the Zodiac Killer has become a fixture in online forums and true crime communities, where amateur sleuths continue to exchange theories and information in the hope of cracking the case. The mystery of the Zodiac has also inspired video games, podcasts, and a myriad of internet content, each iteration adding to the killer's notoriety. The legacy of the Zodiac Killer is a complex one. It is a cautionary tale about the power of media to create a legend around a figure who, in reality, represents the very worst of humanity. It is also a testament to the enduring human desire to solve the unsolvable and to find meaning in the seemingly random and senseless acts of violence. The cultural impact of the Zodiac Killer is explored in an article by The Falcon, which delves into how the media has contributed to the killer's infamy, much like it did with historical figures such as Jack the Ripper. The full article can provide further insights into the killer's lasting influence on society and culture. The psychological profile of the Zodiac Killer has been a subject of intense speculation and study by both professional and amateur profilers. Experts have attempted to understand the mind behind the cryptic letters, the taunting of police and media, and the seemingly random brutality of the murders. Criminal psychologists often describe the Zodiac as a textbook example of a power control killer. He derived satisfaction and a sense of superiority by toying with law enforcement and the public. His communications with newspapers and the police were likely driven by a narcissistic need for attention and a desire to instill fear, exert control, and prove his intelligence. The Zodiac's choice to send ciphers is particularly revealing. It suggests a person who revels in the intellectual challenge and enjoys the spectacle of the public and authorities scrambling to decode his messages. This behavior indicates a complex interplay of grandiosity, a need for stimulation, and possibly some level of paranoia. Profiling experts also note that the Zodiac's actions reflect a deep-seated rage and a lack of empathy characteristic of psychopathic behavior. His ability to commit such violent acts and then return to his daily life, presumably without raising suspicion, suggests a person who is cunning and capable of leading a compartmentalized existence. The Zodiac's motives remain elusive, but some suggest that they may be rooted in personal grievances, societal rejections, or a desire to punish the world for perceived wrongs. His targeting of couples could indicate issues with intimacy and relationships, while the taunting letters could be a way to achieve the recognition he felt he deserved but was denied in his life. The full psychological profile of the Zodiac Killer would be complex and multifaceted, pieced together from the clues he left behind. While we may never fully understand the man behind the mask, the profile that emerges is one of a deeply disturbed individual, whose need for power and recognition drove him to commit acts of extreme violence. Among the dark narrative of the Zodiac Killer, there are slivers of resilience and survival that stand out. The stories of the survivors who encountered the Zodiac and lived to tell their tales are both harrowing and inspiring. One of the most notable survivor stories is that of Brian Hartnell, who, along with Cecilia Shepard, was attacked by the Zodiac at Lake Berryessa on September 27, 1969. Brian and Cecilia were college students enjoying a relaxing day by the lake when their peaceful afternoon was shattered by a man who approached them wearing a black executioner-style hood with the Zodiac symbol on it. A man claimed to be an escaped convict and bound them before brutally attacking them with a knife. Cecilia succumbed to her injuries, but Brian survived despite being stabbed multiple times. He provided valuable information to the authorities about the attack and the appearance of the assailant. His account of the events was crucial in shaping the investigation and offers a first-hand perspective on the terror inflicted by the Zodiac. Another survivor is Mike Majow, who was shot along with Darlene Ferrin in a parked car on July 4, 1969, in Vallejo. Mike survived the attack despite being shot multiple times and was able to describe the shooter, contributing another piece to the puzzle of the Zodiac's identity. These survivor stories are not just accounts of encounters with a killer. They are testimonies to the human spirit's ability to endure even the most traumatic events. The survivors' experiences have been shared in various forms, including articles and interviews, allowing us to glimpse the human cost of the Zodiac's reign of terror. A detailed survivor's story can be found on the Zodiac Killer Facts website, which provides an in-depth look at the Lake Berryessa attack from Brian Hartnell's perspective. This resource offers a poignant and powerful narrative of survival against the odds. The Zodiac Killer case is shrouded in a thick fog of myths, legends, and half-truths that have accumulated over the decades. Separating fact from fiction is a challenge, as the sensational nature of the case has led to a plethora of theories, books, and movies that often blur the lines between reality and artistic license. For instance, the number of victims officially attributed to the Zodiac varies, with some sources claiming he may have had more than the 5 confirmed murders. The killer himself claimed to have killed as many as 37 people in his letters to the media, but this has never been verified. Another common myth is the supposed solving of all the Zodiac's ciphers. In reality, only a few of the coded messages have been definitively cracked, with the most famous being the 340-character cipher solved by a team of private citizens in December 2020. The remaining ciphers, including the 13-character cipher and the Z32 cipher, have yet to be conclusively decoded. The identity of the Zodiac has also been the subject of much speculation, with numerous suspects named over the years. However, none have been definitively proven to be the killer, and the case remains open. The myth of the Zodiac's identity has been a source of endless fascination, with various individuals accused posthumously based on circumstantial evidence. The reality of the case is that it remains one of the most enigmatic and unsolved serial murder cases in American history. The facts are few, the evidence is scarce, and the Zodiac's true identity remains unknown. The future of the Zodiac Killer case hinges on new advancements in forensic science and the potential uncovering of new evidence. With the advent of DNA technology and genealogical databases, there is hope that the Zodiac could eventually be identified through familial DNA, much like the Golden State Killer was in 2018. However, the age of the case presents significant challenges. Evidence may, as we reach the end of this deep dive into the Zodiac Killer case, it's your turn to weigh in. Theories and discussions about the Zodiac have been a cornerstone of the true crime community for years. Whether you're a seasoned Zodiac researcher or new to the case, your insights and theories are valuable. What do you think about the recent developments? Do you have a theory about the identity of the Zodiac, or an interpretation of the unsolved ciphers? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's continue the conversation. Who knows, maybe one of you holds the key to solving one of the greatest mysteries of the 20th century. And with that, we close another chapter in the story of the Zodiac Killer. The case may be old, but the search for the truth never ages. Keep questioning, keep theorizing, and keep the spirit of investigation alive. Until next time, stay curious and never stop seeking justice.